you need to trigger the reciprocity principle. You need to give to people so much that they already know the level in which you are. If my free stuff is so good that it cannot be ignored, just imagine how great my paid offers are.
If you give an introvert the opportunity to talk about themselves, they'll feel like you get them, that you understand them more than anyone else in their life at that given moment in time.
What you need to understand is you should never be even considering to sell your product or service. You should be selling the feeling of it and the outcome when people buy with you.
Just allowing someone to express how they feel, to express their concerns and what's on their mind makes them feel valued. And when you can make someone feel valued, you're already positioning yourself as somebody who they want in their life.
Hello and welcome to another episode, Underdogs. And we really did get fantastic feedback from you last time about the rapid fire episode, this new edition in which in just 30 minutes or less, we bring you the best value, the essentials about a topic of your interest. And so today, we're doing exactly that. And we're going to be speaking about how you can sell anything to anyone and everyone. And in the title, there's the first mistake. So many people, they try to sell anything to everyone. They try to go ahead and push their products in as many mouths as they can. And so that's the first and biggest mistake. Robert, I have a question for you. Have you watched The Wolf of Wall Street?
Of course I have. Yes.
Good film. You probably know that typical situation, that famous scene in which, Jordan Belfort asks his friend to sell him a pen.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and every single one of his idiot friends start immediately selling the pen. They start saying like, oh man, one of them kind of stumbles and gets nervous and doesn't know how to sell it, right? And then the other one goes ahead and asks him like, hey, Jordan, write your name on this napkin. And he says, oh, I can't, I don't have a pen. And he's like, well, here we go. Now you need this pen, right? You create demand and then it's easier for you to sell the offer. But people really believe that that's exactly how sales work. And I'm here to tell you that there is a little bit more to it, okay? Having demand naturally will will make it easier for you to sell your offer. But in the essence of sales and in the essence of selling things, right, you first need to understand if there is an actual need. And so in this particular situation, there are so many ways in which I could just put my name, right? I could use my phone, right? He had a phone on the table. He could just say hey, I'll just shoot you a message with my name. And I don't use pens, right? And then it's the end of the conversation, right? So it's made for the movies. If you want to realistically sell a pen or sell anything to anyone, first you need to understand who is your primary target that actually needs your service or product. And so this is where I want you to always start, right? Make a list. Who is your ideal target that actually needs your service or product? And then the second question is, you need to find out their desires and needs. Why do they need a pen, right? Because in finding the desires of people, it's how you're actually going to have it 10 times easier to selling. If I know that you desire something, it's easier for me to sell it. And so the correct answer to that question, right, to selling the pen would be, well, do you need a pen in the first place? And why do you need a pen, right? Because the moment that you turn the table around and you ask them like, well, do you really need a pen, right? It's like, oh, he's not even selling to me anymore, right? Because I have the pen, I have it here. It's easy for me to just say buy it, right? But if I ask you like, do you really need a pen? Then now it's on you. And now you start thinking about what a pen actually brings you. So with having that opening of this episode, Underdogs, we want to just thank you for being here. And this is what we'll be speaking about today. And I want to launch a question to you, Robert. I know naturally you don't really like selling, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
exactly.
are every day much better at sales because, 2 years ago when we met, right, it was harder for you to sell and you felt like extremely nervous. And, now you don't even need to sell on so many occasions, but you're capable of closing sales, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. And that's really contributed to my own ability to continuously like give value. I still to this day I don't
so
like
what
selling
changed?
because I
What
always feel
changed?
it's yeah, so for me it was stop seeing selling as being sales. And so for me I'm always in this mindset of what is the value that I have to bring the person I'm
Oof.
speaking to. And when I understand that, that is where I understand where I can be of
Mm.
service. So I don't think, oh, I'm going to sell this person this offer. I'm looking at it at how can I solve this person's problem? How can I make this person's life better? How can I bring them to a better position than they were yesterday? Right? That's always on my mind. And by adopting that mindset, I no longer go into any conversation regarding my services as seeing it as sales. I see it as
I
serving.
love that, and I want to go with you through this change that you had, because I feel like so many people are in that exact same position. They feel like sales
Hmm.
is all about manipulating the other person, making them buy a service or product at all costs, being pushy, sleazy, using a variety of techniques just to get people to buy. And I believe that this comes
Hmm.
from all of the limiting pre-established beliefs that people have because they've watched too many movies of car salesmen who go and they're like, "Come on, you need to buy this car," and the lady's like, I was just going to buy some groceries," and he's like, "Well, now you got to buy this car too because that car will change your life," and they start like bombarding you with speaking and speaking and tons of questions that are totally irrelevant because in the first place we're just going to go to the shop, right? And so many people worry about selling because they feel like they're being exactly that, unhelpful. They feel like you know
Hmm.
maybe their product or service isn't good enough. Maybe they're bothering the other person. Maybe the other person feels uncomfortable. And I wanted us to leave very clear what sales is about. And you hit the nail on the head that sales is about serving. So what helped you, right? How did you go from realizing that, hey, like sales is this world of like you know s- serving people? How did you reach that point? I'm very curious.
Yeah. Well, for me, I stopped paying attention to what others were doing around me. That was one of the first things I did because I used to look a lot at how to conduct sales calls, how to be a better salesman because I had a business to run and so I needed to understand that as a skill. But a lot of the things that I was looking at were not that they weren't connecting with
Mm.
me as a person. And I didn't like this idea of these things that didn't really help me when I was having conversations with my specific ideal audience. And so a lot of the things that the prompts and the questions were saying that, oh, these are things you should ask, they didn't really flow with the conversations I was having. And so I was a little bit like, well, this doesn't really help me. It doesn't bring me to a better position. So I kind of needed to build out my own. So that was the first thing, was to stop paying attention to others. And especially because, as you mentioned, sales does have an extremely bad
Mm.
reputation because let's face it, 90% of people are really bad at sales and they will try to sell you everything that they have without ever considering whether or not you need it. And so I can very confidently say that my inbox is filled with people trying to sell me crap and it gets on my nerves. And I'm sure that everybody else's is too. And that's what immediately puts us in a very bad mood when we see somebody trying to sell to us. And so the important thing is here is how do you craft something that doesn't look like selling? And that is where I started to this is where I saw change for me. Is I was like, how can I make sure that what I do is not selling, but it is serving people, so that people come to their own conclusion that they would like to work with me. And my entire strategy online has been built off of that principle. If I give and I give and I give, people are going to see the value in me rise. And so I get to the point where I'm in a very high level of value to the people that I've been serving. And then when I do ask them something, they are much more likely to say yes. They're much more likely to want to get on a call with me. They're much more likely to listen to me for more than 15 minutes because I've been of incredible value. They already know that I have an offer that means something to them. I don't need to sell. They're already sold. All they want to do is speak with me and meet me in person so that they can feel confident that we can move forward together.
Fantastic. Let's break down that, because you gave a lot of information in this bracket that is essential for people to understand how to sell. Okay, so the first thing that Robert mentioned that's extremely important for you to understand is that you should never be selling to people. People should be able to sell to themselves. Okay. And so if you're capable of switching people's beliefs, you're already a step ahead. One of the most important skills in sales and in life is pattern identification. Okay, if you are capable of understanding people's personalities and you have the empathy to serve that personality and have genuine interest to provide the value to them, they're going to buy from you. You don't need to sell, they will buy from you. There is a big difference there. The second thing is stop paying attention to scripts. Too many people tell you that you need a script in sales. No, you need your own personal structure, which is way different than having a script. I see too many robots online selling. Okay, they're like, oh, let me. And the moment you ask them a question that throws them off their script, right? They immediately panic. They don't know what to say. And it's because they've been instructed to follow just this road. Okay. Hey, trust me, there's so many people that have different personalities. You cannot be following a script. You will get lost and you will sound exactly that, like a robot. It's not people buy from people. Okay. They don't buy from robots. And so throw the scripts. And the third and most important point is you need to trigger the reciprocity principle. You need to give to people so much that they already know the level in which you are. If my free stuff is so good that it cannot be ignored, just imagine how great my paid offers are. And so people in their imagination, they already have an understanding of how great my offer can be. And so when we jump on a call, it's not about us having a conversation in which I am selling to you my service or product. It's about us getting to know the terms of working together. And so that switches the whole perspective. You no longer need to be having conversations in which you're asking people, yeah, man, so would you be able to get a credit? Would you be able to, get the money from elsewhere? And all of these like bullshit approaches, that's never been something that we do. I find it, I don't know about you, but I find it pathetic when people are literally like, nah, but man, like even if people are broke, they can just like go and they can sell their car and they can work with you. So like if you get them to sell their car, they're going to end up working with you. And it's like, why is that even a thing, right? When you should be thinking about helping them, not getting them to sell their cars to work with you, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, and I mentioned this before, is you want to leave people in a better position than they were. So thankfully, I've never been in a position where people have asked me to sell or sell anything of extreme value to pay for services. But yeah, if there are people out there that do that, then frankly, that's shocking and disgusting.
Oh, wow. And here's the next part, right? The fourth and a very, very important point when it comes to selling is instead of being that person, here's why Robert is great at selling, because he's an introvert. And so people always say like introverts are not great at sales. And in my experience, right, they can oftentimes be much better than extroverts. And it's because they listen more than they speak, right? Too many people on sales calls, they just speak when they should be listening, and then asking. Okay. And when you go from talking all the time to asking important questions and allowing people to express how they feel and to express what they need, the whole game of sales just becomes so much easier for you. And you feel more comfortable too, because you're ending up having a conversation instead of having a sales call in which I'm here to sell you my product. What other qualities as an introvert do you feel like have helped you to get better at sales?
Well, I mean, you really hit the nail on the head when you said that we listen more. I always, and this is in general, I'm always listening, and I wait for the opportune moment to say the right things, because by listening, you're gathering as much information as possible about who they are, what they need, why they need it. And it's this information that by the end of them talking, and you've probably said about 3 or 4 words, they're going to feel like you really know them because they've spent their entire time speaking about themselves. You've given them that opportunity to, and people love to speak about themselves. Even introverts do. If you give an introvert the opportunity to talk about themselves, they'll feel like you get them, that you understand them more than anyone else in their life at that given moment in time. Because just allowing someone to express how they feel, to express their concerns and what's on their mind, makes them feel valued. And when you can make someone feel valued, you're already positioning yourself as somebody who they want in their life, because they're going to feel like you get them. And because they've expressed their problems and concerns, they're going to feel like you're in the best position to be able to help them achieve that if your services align with their problem. And that's also another important thing, is that by listening, you're actually going to find out whether or not you are in fact a good fit. This is one of the probably the biggest problem with bad salesmen out there, is they don't care if you have a problem. They care about shifting their product or their service. Okay. But you're then going to end up in a position where you've probably, if this is your approach, you're going to end up with more unhappy clients than you are happy, because people walk away with this purchase and they're like, hang on a minute, did I actually need this? And the moment that people question it, you failed as a service provider, because what you really want is to identify if this is somebody who really needs what you have to offer, so that by the time you've taken them on the journey of serving them, that they walk away saying, this was incredible. This has changed my life. I'm so happy that I worked with them, because I managed to get this, this, and this at the end of it. And that's what I really needed in my life at that time. And so those are some things that I feel, being an introvert, have really helped me, is having people walk away saying that this was really beneficial to me.
Absolutely. And to bounce on the back of that, here's a rare sales tip that will absolutely transform your process. And it's to focus on how you make people feel, not on what you say or do. Because the majority of people, after every conversation, that's exactly what they will take. It's how I feel with that person. And this has gained us deals of up to 76,000 plus, simply because we managed to make people feel good around us and show them that we understand them best. You wouldn't believe me when I say that so many people out there, they want to hire you as an expert simply because they resonate with you the most. They don't care about the product, they don't care about the service, they care about you and what you bring to the table. And so it is extremely important for people to understand that the whole experience when it comes to selling starts from the very first moment of the first touch point. I see people who are incredible, right, when it comes to the sales call, but outside of that, the communication is stiff. They're very slow. Their approach is kind of shady, right? And so it makes the whole experience just be kind of, as you mentioned, doubtful, right? I leave and I'm like, man, I bought it, but it feels like, I'm not getting a great service. And this all comes down again to the offer too, right? You should not be building an offer that people feel stupid buying. You should build an offer that people feel stupid not buying, right? That's the whole key. And when you have an incredible offer, it's easier for you to sell, right? And here's a question, right? It's as simple as that. If I told you, hey, if you give me $1,000 in a week, I'll give you $10,000, 100% of you listening right now would say yes. You don't even question it, right? We signed a contract and I say, hey, I'm going to make you $10,000 in a week. You just give me $1,000. The offer is so good that you would feel stupid saying no, right? And that's where sales becomes irrelevant almost. And I say that as a sales psychology expert, right? It becomes irrelevant because when the offer is so incredible, you don't even need to sell it, right? You just need to present it and tell people, this is what I have on the table, okay? And here's how we can work together. Those are the terms, right? And one of the things that we've been doing is building incredible offers. So I just want to know, what are your top 3 tips when it comes to building a fantastic offer?
Okay, well, starting off for me, the very first thing I would do, like you've mentioned a lot of important things when it comes to making it very sellable, but also, and this is where it gets really interesting, because you mentioned how, like, if you were to say to anyone, you pay me $1,000 and I'll give you $10,000 right back. Well, we all think about, okay, so how can we create an offer that sounds like that, right? That's great. But now what you need to do, and especially when creating your offer, is how are you going to be able to deliver that? Okay, so this is the really important thing, because we take a lot for granted our own systems when it comes to delivering an offer. And the better you can make a step-by-step process to follow, customer starts here, customer then does this, they then move on to that, then I need to work on this to finally give them this, and then they're done. That is how you want your process to work. It needs to look like clockwork. So exactly as Alek mentioned, that they're not feeling stupid a week in that they haven't been given something of value. Because the moment that your process starts to waver and it starts to feel like they're not being taken on the journey that they expected, is the moment that you fail. And so as important it is to actually sell your offer, making sure that you have the systems in place to actually deliver your offer at maximum effectiveness is also really important. So that's my first tip. How's number 2 for you,
Number
Alek?
2 is to do your research, okay? And find out. It all comes back. It's a full circle. We all come back now to, what do people desire? And I always say, like, answer this one question. And it's, what makes your ideal client wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning, sweating like a pig when the air conditioning is on full cold blast? Okay. And if you just answer that question, okay, that is their utmost desire, right? For many people, it is a desire to be more free, okay? It's to take their children to the best university, to give them the best education. It is to spend more time with their family. For other people, it is something more abstract, such as power and status. They want to feel better about themselves. They want to have more confidence. And what you need to understand is that you should never be even considering to sell your product or service. You should be selling the feeling of it and the outcome when people buy with you. And so find the answer to that question. And then that is, right, then what is the outcome when they work with you? Okay. Aside from not waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning sweating, okay, maybe they're going to be able to have up to 4 vacations every year with their families in the best places that they want to go to. Okay. And so speak about that. Speak about that feeling of being able to spend more time with their family. Speak about the feelings that your ideal clients want to experience. Now, tip number 3, Robert, what's that for you so that we can wrap this up?
Absolutely. So for me, it's really important to understand what are the potential risks of your offer to your customers versus what is the reward to your customer. And so what I would encourage everyone listening to do is to get a pen and paper and literally divide this piece of paper, this page, into a half. You want your risk on one side and you want your reward on the other. And then what I want you to do is write down all of those potential risks to your customer as a result
So
of buying
good.
your offer. How much time does it take them? How much is it going to cost them? What other risks can you think of that buying your service or your product is going to happen in their mind? What risks are they thinking of in their mind? And then I want you to, on the other side, pull together all of those potential rewards. So Alek already mentioned a few. Is there an impact on their life? Is there an impact on the amount of time that they're going to gain back? And also, looking at a little bit more logical, how much money could they save later in their life by getting your service now? All of these potential risks and rewards, having it in front of you so that you can basically look and understand right now what you're I want you to picture it almost like you're trying to balance it on, I can't remember the name of those things now. It's completely escaped me, on the balance scales. If your risks is too heavy, then you know that you need to find more rewards to balance it out. Your ideal scenario is that your rewards is so heavy that it mitigates all of the potential risks. And this is where, the power of also guarantees come in place, because if you've got all of these rewards and it already looks like really heavy on the reward side, but you can't guarantee that those rewards will happen, then your risks end up doing that again. And so at the end, it's important to guarantee that the rewards that you are offering your customers can be achieved. And the moment that you do that is the moment that the scales fall in your favor.
Here's a special exercise that I always do when it comes to building an irresistible offer that people constantly buy. Okay, I ask myself this one question: what is the perfect offer? And so if I am, for example, selling, wealth, the perfect offer would include, okay, person wants to achieve $10,000 or $100,000. They sign up the contract, there is immediately $100,000 in their bank account. You take that as a starting point and then you dial it down until it's realistic for you to execute that. And starting from that highest point of what is the perfect scenario in which they don't pay any money, they get immediate return, they get fantastic results, they get it right now, okay, after signing with us. And then how can we get as close to that perfect offer? And so many of you, okay, as a special bonus, keep asking me well, but what about when I'm on a sales call? What are the most important questions that I can ask my prospects to understand what they need and to get them to buy instead of me selling? Here are the top 3 questions that I keep on repeating that people should always be asking. Okay, you should ask people, where are they at right now? Where do they want to go in a certain period of time? And why haven't they achieved it? Okay, why haven't they gone there? Because that will help you to understand their current situation, their desired situation, and their struggles. When you know those 3 things, you have a system for you to close every deal. And having said that, we want to thank you once again for being here. Underdog, this is fantastic sharing this time with you. And if you have enjoyed it too, if you love us to talk about more about sales, about branding, about marketing, tell us about what do you want us to speak about exactly. And your opinion matters so much to us. And so thank you for listening. And if you found any value, again, share it with a friend who would benefit from learning more about sales.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And we're going to see you in the next episode.
See you on the next one.